Welcome to Arts and Leisure on the HAN Network. This is our weekly program featuring everything that is coming up in the area's music, arts, and entertainment scene. We will interview local artists, authors, musicians, and even some nationally recognized names who may be performing here in our area. We will have movie reviews and film suggestions from the real dad, Mark Schumann, and etiquette tips from Catherine Michaels. This is your all-access pass, and here are your hosts, Arts and Leisure editor Sally Sanders and our entertainment reporter Steve Coulter.
Welcome to Arts and Leisure on the HAN Network. I'm your host Steve Coulter, joined as always on the couch by my co-host Sally Sanders and our real dad Mark Schumann.
Hey there.
We've got a Golden Globe spectacular recap here today in studio right after the event happened. It's fresh in our minds. What were some of your favorite moments of the show, and what were some of your least favorite moments from the show, guys?
Oh, Steve Carroll and
Kristen Wiig.
That was fabulous.
That was the best.
In fact, can we just sign them up to host
next year?
Yeah.
Right.
They were so fun and closely followed, I think, by Goldie Hawn.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Was just lovely. And in fact, for those who store this useless trivia, Goldie Hawn's bit about not being able to read the cue cards is actually lifted from Goldie Hawn and George Segal at the Academy Awards of 1974.
Oh, so there is
or
some history
1975. There. So it was kind of the same bit, and you kind of see them going, we need a bit. Well, I remember doing that bit, and who would remember that?
Here we are,
bit?
40 years later, doing it.
But it was great. It was great to see them. That show is such a collection of bizarre moments, and you can't necessarily take it seriously because the awards are voted by 90 press
the Hollywood
people,
Foreign Press Association,
whoever they are.
Right.
So it's not as though it's a bona fide critics
right.
association. It's not as though it's an industry award. So it's a little bit like measuring the tea leaves, but because perhaps it's not as serious an award, the show itself has kind of a fun atmosphere, and it always has a fun atmosphere.
And there was a lot of fun last night. There was also a lot of history. I guess La La Land is where we should start. It swept 7 for 7.
It started the show.
It started the show.
Yeah.
The
and that opening
was
great. That opening was great.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And La La Land is one of these movies that strikes a chord at a particular moment in time. Much like musicals helped people escape in the 30s and the 40s, perhaps we're in a period where we need a little bit of escape, and La La Land has found its moment, and that's why it
couldn't have been released in a better time in terms of the year and time of year.
It also goes to the self-referential
Hollywood,
preference
yes.
of Hollywood.
And they love to award movies about themselves.
Yes, they do.
It's somewhat.
This is a great one.
And it is, and you think of a few years ago when The Artist won. Mm-hmm. This is a much more accessible film, I think a more lasting film. And what I love that film. What I love about that film is that it is such a studied tribute to the musical comedy form on film. It is a Fred and Ginger movie for the new age. Mm-hmm. And if you go back and you watch a Fred and Ginger movie, there's not a lot of depth to the characters, but there certainly is connection between characters that comes out most effectively when they sing and dance. And the way that Damien Chazelle just does this beautifully, where he has them kind of ease into their singing and dancing, and they're not great singers and dancers, but that's part of its charm.
It works. It really works.
It does. And Ryan Gosling, I think of the two, and they've each received a lot of acclaim, and they
both won last night.
But
right?
I think Ryan Gosling is the anchor of the film.
He is really good.
He plays the piano. I mean, that's
he
him
does.
playing in that performance.
And he's the emotional anchor of the film. It's his arc that actually gives the film its foundation and its heart, I think.
Yeah, and without giving things away, he's the one who helps people fly.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And she's lovely, but I think he's the performance.
Now, Moonlight actually won Best Drama because they have this split at the Golden Globes that people weren't watching. La La Land won Best Comedy Musical, but Moonlight was actually the winner at the end of the night.
It's kind of an odd split. This year it was less odd, but it was kind of fun to hear Matt Damon poke fun at the fact that a year ago
he was best
the Globes considered
actor.
The Martian a
comedy musical,
which. And as he said, the funniest thing about the movie was the fact that he
won the award for it,
right? For a comedy. But it does set up interesting dynamics if you look at the Globes in the context of the larger Oscar race, because certainly La La Land will be a contender, Moonlight will be a contender, Manchester by the Sea will be a contender. So it was interesting to see in that drama film category which of those two heavier films would win. And I'm not surprised Moonlight.
And Moonlight was its only victory, and this kind of segues into the good part. The biggest snub of the night had to have been Moonlight supporting actor Mahershala Ali, who got snubbed.
Otherwise
opening
known
award,
as Remy on House of Cards.
Yes, opening award goes to Aaron
Stunned.
Taylor Johnson for Nocturnal
everyone
Animals.
Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a stunner.
And now I've not seen Nocturnal Animals, so I'm not going to discount the victory, but he was the long shot to win this award, and so it was a big surprise to start the show.
He's not nominated for a Screen Actor Guild Award for Best Supporting Actor, which is oftentimes seen as one of the key Oscar predictors. And the Moonlight performances from both Ali and Naomi Harris have received so much acclaim, and it's that was surprising. But then his character is only in the first third of the film.
Right. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Okay.
You project just perfectly.
Do I?
without the
Okay.
microphone.
Well, I don't want to become a silent movie. All by
One of the
myself.
supporting actors that was missing, I thought, was Lucas Hedges from Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
Casey went through everybody in the entire film thanking him in his Best Actor speech, and didn't thank
Lucas?
he didn't thank the one guy that he was acting across for 80% of the movie that got him to this stage. I thought I couldn't believe that he forgot about Lucas Hedges.
Well, I don't think necessarily that awards speeches are Casey Affleck's comfort zone.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that we see someone who may be fundamentally shy.
Oh yeah.
And I thought he was quite human in his speech. He was actually quite humorous on the red carpet beforehand when he was apologizing for his beard and his hair that he apparently is sporting for a movie he's making. And he said, I don't really look the awards type tonight because of my...
He looked a little like Joaquin Phoenix, who he did
He
the
did.
mockumentary on a couple of years ago.
Well, man buns are just not a good look.
No,
and
not at all.
on him at all.
But it'll be interesting. Manchester is such a somber movie, and it's almost a movie that is being made and discussed as being more somber than it is. Because I happen to find the ending
Yeah, you and I are in agreement.
uplifting.
Yeah, I thought it was uplifting for people that are like so depressed by it.
But it has become a joke. I mean, there was a joke last night about a depressing movie at the end of a depressing year. And so you don't know how much those kinds of things affect the buzz.
Casey Affleck even made the joke on Saturday Night Live.
That's right.
And did you think that the depressing nature of Manchester by the Sea cost maybe Kenneth Lonergan, who's the director, a chance at winning maybe the screenplay or the director award? I felt that there should have been one more award given to Manchester, one less given to La La Land. I thought there was too much.
As much
La La
as I
Land
love La
domination.
La Land, and I think it is just a joyful time at the movies, I don't really think we can call that a real screenplay.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And so I think that's where we have to take this for the grain of salt that it is. These are 90 journalists.
All over the world.
From all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Academy will likely take that category a bit more seriously. And you have to look at Moonlight, and you have to look at Manchester by the Sea. And say, what truly is a screenplay versus what is a marvelous narrative framework for a lot of delightful singing and dancing.
How about you, Sally? What was one of the ones that surprised you other than Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Well, I thought Elle getting the
Oh, yeah,
that was
Porn
great.
picture.
That's great.
I was kind of rooting for Tony Erdmann in that category. I haven't seen it.
Oh.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
And I know that Isabelle Huppert is just magnificent in it.
It's a very complicated movie. It's a very heavy movie. Again,
Another
it's
depressing
a
film,
depressing
yeah.
movie. What she does with this character, and it's very Hitchcock in its layers. And as you watch it, and I saw it a second time, and as you watch it, it's one of these films you're not quite sure what's actually happening versus what may be manipulated versus what may be imagined. And she plays all these layers with such effective subtlety and nuance. I thought that was a marvelous surprise. I'm a big Natalie Portman fan, and I was really pulling for her last night.
It wasn't a night for American history, though. OJ lost in TV. Jackie lost at the Best Actress.
And Isabelle Huppert's performance is so spontaneous and fresh, and you just felt when you watched it that you were watching something that was being conceived as she went. It felt that fresh. And it may be that ultimately appeals. Again, you can't speculate where that category is going to end up based on last night. Although if I were Annette Bening, I would be saying, oh, I could have used that Globe.
I read this morning that it's a good thing that Annette Bening doesn't act in order to receive awards.
I think she is an actress who makes it look so easy.
You think that's
that we don't necessarily take it as seriously.
She's
lovely.
She's
in that
a
film.
5-time Academy Award nominee, never has won, so that's a storyline we'll be looking forward to. We'll do a little bit of that later in the show, kind of projecting outwards. But Annette Bening was in the comedy category, actually, for 20th Century Women, which Emma Stone ended up winning.
And that's a film that I don't know how many people have seen. It was released late in the year, and the trouble with films released late in the year is that you have so many films that it's easy for films to get lost.
There's a couple on the list that I had. Silence is one that was completely
combed
over, haven't seen it. 20th Century Women is another one that got a few nominations from the Globes, but there's several other ones.
Now, was Silence out in time where they had gotten screeners of Silence?
I don't think.
I think it was pretty. I think it was pretty late. I think he was still working on it.
Yeah.
So
Marty got it in at the last second, but there's a couple other ones like The Founder, Live by Night. Those are all technically could go up for Oscars this year. I don't think they will necessarily, based on what I've read, but those are all movies that could factor into this discussion as we move on.
And The Founder was actually considered early in the fall to be one to watch out for.
I had it as a dark horse, but I don't think that horse has come into the stable. Favorite moments other than the opening number, obviously, by Jimmy Fallon. That was great. What were some of your other favorite moments?
I think the Viola Davis acceptance speech was lovely. I think that
her introduction to Meryl was great too.
It was fabulous, and I think the Meryl moment is one that will savor for a long time. And certainly, I thought the film work to introduce Meryl was lovely. I thought Viola's
30 Golden Globe nominations.
Were
I couldn't believe that.
I thought the Viola Davis acceptance speech and her narrative and her connection with this piece of material is especially moving. Having seen that show when it was on Broadway in 2010, when Viola Davis wasn't the name that she is now, it was pre The Help, and she was truly a working actor who got a great part, won a Tony, and it's fabulous to see her come back to that role and invest it and play it for all it's worth, and it's no surprise that she's probably the one real lock.
Yes, that's what I was saying to Sally on the way up here, was that of all the actors, actress, supporting actress.
She was in a really tight race a few years ago with Meryl Streep for Best Actress.
The Help versus Iron Lady. Yep.
So I thought the irony of their having worked together in Doubt and then they're competing made that speech even more poignant.
Absolutely. We're going to take our first commercial break. Mark, you're going to hang around. We're going to talk a little bit more Golden Globes, movies, and TV. And then at the end of the show, we're going to talk Oscar predictions, Oscar forecast.
It's never too early to be looking into that crystal ball.
Of course not. That's why we have this show. We'll be right back after the commercial break to talk more Golden Globes.
Hi folks, this is Dr. Jeffrey Hubscher from the Noah's Ark Animal Hospital in Danbury and the South Salem Animal Hospital. There's something new and important going on at our two hospitals and probably eventually everywhere. It's called Fear Free. That means making sure that our pets are no longer frightened or stressed at the vet. We are Fear Free certified, the only ones in the area. We have the softer, gentler, better approach. Come see us at Noah's Ark Animal Hospital in Danbury or South Salem Animal Hospital.
Discover a world of wellness in the heart of New Canaan. Halo Studios, New Canaan's first collaborative wellness center, offers you the freedom to choose from the best and latest health, fitness, and wellness options. Inside Halo Studios, you'll find all the wellness experts you need at places like Halo Fitness, Priority Wellness, and Sama Yoga Center. Come by for a free wellness assessment, open 7 days a week at 45 Grove Street. For more information, visit halostudios.com or call 203-594-9909.
While there's still a bite out on the water, most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With two convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier network, and we've also reached 1.7 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome back to Arts and Leisure on the HAN Network. We did film snubs and surprises. There was a lot of TV snubs and surprises, probably more than the film. Film was kind of more chalk than anything other than supporting actor. HBO got completely blanked last night. Nothing for Game of Thrones, nothing for Westworld, nothing for Veep, nothing for any of its shows after it really did a number on at the Emmys, as well as OJ, which was the other big winner at the Emmys, also blanked.
It was really an indication of the foreign press
favoring
it
was.
Series that had a connection to overseas.
Yes, The Night Manager takes place on several different continents. You have The Crown in England, several shows that were selected. Goliath from Amazon Studios won for Best Actor early in the night. That was kind of a surprise as well. With
Not to me.
Billy Bob. You thought he was going to win?
I thought he was just amazing in that.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I love seeing Billy Bob. Anytime you can get him in during an award show, it's a success.
A good vehicle for him, and he was surrounded by just a lot of talent.
Right. William Hurt is the supporting actor.
Maria Bello, Molly Parker. I forget some of the other ones. There were people that you'd never heard of in that show who were they filled those roles perfectly.
And the Globes has a tendency, sometimes with film, but more for TV, of getting the freshmen, the newcomer freshman series, the award. It did that with The Crown in drama, as we just mentioned, but also Atlanta in the comedy category.
Yeah, and this is where, not to discount the excitement for those people who win, but these are 90 journalists, and you do have to somewhat keep their views through a particular lens.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's fun.
And when you say journalists, that could be journalists, quote marks.
Right. From what I've heard.
Yes.
From what I've heard, and
We don't
you know,
really
the
know.
Globes does have a history of influence. There was the year that Sharon Stone bought all the members' watches, and there have certainly been records over the years
Some
of
under the
different
table
parties
shenanigans.
and other things, and certainly with such a small pool, there is the opportunity for influence from publicists and other folks. So, but that doesn't make it less fun. It's just that in the scheme of recognition, it has its own place.
What were some of your favorite moments from the TV aspect of the show?
Well, aside from Billy Bob, I thought it was nice that they did recognize Sarah Paulson, at least from the people.
Any opportunity to recognize Sarah
I mean,
Paulson.
I can't believe that show only got one award.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
She's one of those people you wish would always win, because she always gives such a moving, heartfelt acceptance speech, like she did at the Broadcast Film Critics.
It was pretty funny when she takes the stage, though. She said, "Oh, I'm so overwhelmed." No, you're not. You've won so many times for this show. You're not overwhelmed by it anymore.
Well, no, I think she's one of those people who seems genuinely
Oh, she's great.
moved by the idea that people like her work.
Like her work. And this show came out in February, too, so it may have lost a little bit of steam.
And how in
terms
each of her
newness.
speeches she's paid tribute to Marcia Clark, and I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she
I
really-
like that.
I also liked Olivia Colman getting
for Night Manager.
honored for Night Manager, just because her body of work is great, and I think she's one of those British actors that you see in so many things, and you maybe don't realize how
good she truly is.
Yeah.
Until she gets a part like that.
She was in Broadchurch a few years ago.
Oh, really?
Playing a detective, kind of a falling apart at the seams detective, and she was just stellar in that.
What was your guys' opinion, speaking of The Night Manager, of Tom Hiddleston's speech? Thought that was a little
I don't remember.
a little.
I don't remember it.
A little arrogant. That was.
I mean, I thought Hugh Laurie went on
Yeah.
and on, and I was sorry that he had taken as much time, because later Isabelle Huppert was played off, and I thought that was unfortunate.
Several people were played off late.
They do it by the total of the segment, so if someone...
I don't know, I think they just
Gobbled
saw
up
that they
time.
were going up, they were close to 11 o'clock, and they had to play.
Hugh Laurie did do the great thing of pointing out the Hollywood Foreign Press Association as being something that was disliked for being Hollywood
Right.
Foreign Press
A
and
theme later
Association.
picked
yes,
up.
and I wondered if she stole it from him directly, or she had it in her thoughts.
I think she had it in her thoughts.
Yeah,
That was kind of the impression that I got.
Did you guys enjoy the fact that Julia Louis-Dreyfus did not come away with the best actress in a comedy
I love that
series?
show. I love her. I always want her to win.
Yeah.
So 5 consecutive. You don't.
Yeah,
You can
I
make
just-
it 6,
and
8,
and the fact
10.
that she has kept, and they have kept that show so fresh.
Oh yeah.
And you wonder how that show will continue at this point.
It
but
was. I mean, it was nice for Tracy Ellis Ross.
I thought that was lovely, and she gave a lovely speech.
I find it shocking to think that that's Diana Ross's daughter.
Except, but you can see her. But I thought that was a
No.
lovely
What
speech.
I mean is that she's maybe 50, 45.
I think she said she was.
She was 42. 42, I think she
something.
said in the speech.
Yeah, 40-something.
Yeah.
I mean, to think that that's Diana Ross's daughter
Yeah.
to me
Wow.
is,
I did not realize that until last night, actually, to be honest with you.
yeah.
I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this on the TV segment, but Stranger Things was shut out. I thought that was the
Yeah.
best show of the year, if not the best show, at least the best news show. So I thought it had an advantage over everything
and the
else.
opening Barb and
Yes.
pool thing was just great.
Yeah, I was pretty stunned that it did not win any awards. But then again,
It may be a particularly American thing.
Yeah, that's
too.
what we were talking about, is that the foreign influence might have kind of suffocated the 1980s America nostalgia that is attached to Stranger Things.
You think?
I don't know.
You don't have too much
You know,
feeling about Stranger Things?
No, I don't. I think, though, that one of the things that may be an influence here is that we have in this country so adapted to the redefinition of television. When you think about it, television is no longer a delivery mechanism. It is more the definition of entertainment in the home that we get from many sources. And so the fact that all of these shows are competing, some that I can watch all at once, some that I have to watch when they're scheduled, we've adapted as an audience, and you don't know if that is a global experience. You don't know.
Well, it could certainly be coming in the pipeline. Amazon has more money than anybody in the market, and Netflix
just
keeps
look
pumping
at the
out
impact
shows.
they've made in both television and
Sure.
movies.
Oh, you look at the comedy category last night. I think it was 2, 3 Amazon shows, a Netflix show.
But I mean, you look at The Crown too, and that's Netflix, and they invested so much money in that in that series, and it's supposedly going to be 7 seasons for every decade of Elizabeth's reign.
That is a lot.
They're intending to do another series.
But you look at, I mean, Peter Morgan, who better to do it? And he was really gracious last night. I thought he is lovely.
So was Claire Foy.
Yep. Yes.
Claire Foy was a great speech, and The Crown I think was the real big winner. Atlanta also winner, keeping in tune with that newcomer freshman winner. It seems like it's almost impossible for a show like a Game of Thrones to win at the Golden Globes, which is so weird.
Well, like last night, there wasn't any mention of House of Cards, and there was a time when that certainly dominated.
Homeland won in its first season at the Golden Globes. Sia, The Affair won a couple of years ago, not even on the list. Mozart in the Jungle won last year for comedy. So a lot of changeover in the TV category. We're going to go to our second commercial break. When we come back, we're going to use the Globes winners and try to make a little bit of an Oscar forecast here while we have Mark on the couch. We'll be right back after the commercial break.
It's all about meeting goals this year, and Trinity CrossFit of Ridgefield has experienced trainers, top-of-the-line equipment, and a newly renovated space to help get you there. Offering more classes per day than any other CrossFit gyms in the area, we cater to all fitness levels. Our coaches have a combined 10 years of experience in CrossFit, and as competitors themselves, Trinity coaches can get you ready for competition in 2017. Stop by our grand opening bash on Saturday, January 14th at 9 a.m. Visit our convenient location on Route 7, Danbury Road, or find out more at trinitycrossfit.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Save thousands right now during the Start Something New sales event, now through January 31st.
Why cook it all this holiday? Avoid the stress of holiday planning and let your friends at Walter Stewart's in New Canaan do the heavy lifting. Whether you're looking to fill in with a few crowd-pleasing sides or you want us to prepare your whole feast, from cranberry sauce to pumpkin pie, we're ready to simplify your holiday. Place your order from our holiday menu and spend your holiday the right way, relaxing. Our fresh prepared holiday meals to go are designed with your busy schedule in mind. Visit us at stewartsmarket.com or at 229 Elm Street, New Canaan.
Hi, I'm Denise Figuergoli, host of The Drive, here every Tuesday on the HN Network. It's about how you fuel your mind, your body, your spirit that creates the life you live, with people, places, ideas, and organizations that move us forward mindfully and consciously. Tune into The Drive here on the HN Network, Tuesdays at 12:30.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break.
Welcome back to Arts and Leisure on the HAN Network. We're going to do a little bit of Oscar forecasting. La La Land with the big sweep. Is there any way that the sweep last night at the Golden Globes goes against its favor as it kind of bucks here the last 6 weeks heading into the final race for the Oscar Best Picture?
You know, with the Oscars, timing is everything.
Yeah, sure. Did it get too hot, I guess, is the question I'm posing.
It's very possible for a movie to peak too early and for the backlash to happen and for something else to sneak in. So you think about, I was reminded last night seeing Mel Gibson, the year of Braveheart. No one expected Braveheart.
Over Apollo 13.
No, no. It just absolutely snuck in there. And one reason was because there was so much buzz around Apollo 13. Then the nominations are announced. Ron Howard is snubbed for Best Director. And that
always an indicator
can
that
make
director
it a tough
category.
thing for a picture to try to overcome.
Yep.
And Braveheart came from nowhere to win. So you never know. There can be too much too soon for a movie, and that can create backlash.
I mean, it got a Globe record last night. Yeah. No film has ever won 7 awards before.
Does it have any effect the way the honorees react to those awards? Because I thought they were all extremely humble.
You would think that the answer to that is no, and I can give one example, and that's what's-her-face, Anne Hathaway from Les Mis. She was annoying everybody going up to that Oscar, and she kept annoying people, and she still won.
It continued.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to that. I think that, in fact, one of the things that the Globes does is you have a chance to kind of measure the speech. And I thought, you look at Emma Stone, certainly a very strong contender, gave a lovely speech that hit all the right notes. I don't think it was as spontaneous and heartfelt as what we heard from Viola Davis, but certainly those two speeches were just the kind of things that someone should be saying at this moment.
I'm glad you brought up Viola Davis. Is she definitely going to be in the supporting actress, or is there any chance that they flip-flop and put her in the actress category?
There's always the possibility. You go back a few years ago when Kate Winslet was considered by many to have given a supporting performance in The Reader, and all of a sudden ended up in the Best Actress category that she later won. I think with Viola Davis, she herself has declared that she wants to be in the supporting category, but more importantly, the way that film is made, that role feels to me much more a supporting performance than it does a co-lead. And so I think that's an appropriate place for it, actually.
And while we're speaking about fences, Denzel is going to be going for his third Oscar. Is there any chance he sneaks up and beats Casey Affleck?
There's always that possibility. And again, it goes back to some of the earlier conversation. If Manchester, and especially Casey Affleck, continue to win, if he wins at the Screen Actors Guild, is there a little fatigue that starts to happen? We experienced a little fatigue, the year that Viola Davis was against Meryl Streep, and everyone went into Oscar night thinking Viola Davis was going to win because she had won at the SAGs, and all of a sudden Meryl won. Yeah. So I think that with a force as strong as Denzel, many times when people vote Oscars, they're voting for the story behind the film as well as the film.
The person, too.
And the fact is that film would not have been made had it not been for him. And it is unique at this moment in time to see a play so lovingly transferred to the screen and for it to actually attract an audience. And it's doing quite well at the box office, which I think is a surprise to many people.
So that could be like the American Sniper angle.
So
a couple of years ago. And
I would never discount Denzel because he's such a strong actor, a powerful voice, and he has a great narrative for having fought to bring that film to the screen.
It's always
never count him out.
It's good to have an encouraging Denzel do more drama, less action fare. Maybe you'll
when he's as good as anyone.
God,
and he's
so
marvelous in that.
Yeah, he's so good in Fences, and Viola Davis is so good. That's one of the best acted movies of the year for sure.
It is.
Well, do you think they might give him director as opposed to actor?
I don't.
I didn't think the direction was anything to write home about.
I love the film because I love the play.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that this play and those performances have been preserved. I don't think it's a very cinematic experience. It felt very theatrical.
Yeah.
I felt the camera it felt very proscenium.
Yep.
And the camera was distant. As opposed to, in an interesting film that it brings to mind is the film version of Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which is also talky between a small number of characters. Yep. And Mike Nichols in that film, that camera just roams everywhere in that house.
It does.
And you feel so claustrophobic in that house. You do not feel you're watching a stage. And the only complaint I had about Fences is the camera so pulled back and would watch the entire
I completely
action
agree, yeah.
like a play.
It wasn't,
and I wanted him to get right in there more than he did. I wanted the camera to move
missing
more.
something for sure. Yeah. And it'll be telling to see when the awards come out if he gets that direction.
Right,
director or not.
And you compare that to Moonlight, which is also from a play, and is so beautifully directed, and just that camera goes everywhere, and it creates such a sense of place and a sense of mood that shifts with each act. It's just a beautiful film.
And one of the things, the history of the Oscars is they do sometimes give it to a director and not necessarily the picture. Last year we saw that with Alejandro winning, and the Best Picture went to Spotlight. We've seen that with Ang Lee won a couple of years ago. Life of Pi did not win Best Picture. So sometimes we might see a Barry Jenkins win director, and then we might see La La Land still win for Best Picture.
Although I think that when you compare it to last year, and you look at Spotlight and the strength of Spotlight, and you compare it to The Revenant was a director's film.
Oh, yeah.
And that was where its strength was. You look at La La Land, and that is a director's film. That is a director's vision that came to life. And so it would be difficult, I think, for that film to be honored without also honoring Damien Chazelle, because he is the mastermind behind the magic.
So it's really a two-headed race between Jenkins and Chazelle and the director, and then La La Land and Moonlight in picture. Is there any dark horses that you guys think might sneak up, besides maybe Manchester by the Sea, which seems to be...
Do you think Silence might sneak in there,
I don't know.
or is that just too dark?
I think Silence could do it, but I think it might be coming in too late almost.
I haven't seen it yet, but it looks beautiful.
I think there is a moment sometimes with Oscar where they feel that we've taken care of him, and they may feel they've taken care of Martin
Scorsese,
because he certainly won for The Departed, and then he was also nominated a few years later for Hugo. I think the dark horse is actually Hell or High Water. It's marvelous to see that film,
getting the respect,
which was opened earlier in the year, and many times films from earlier in the year are overlooked. But it's
also a very American movie that was ignored last night. Yeah,
and to see, I would be surprised if we don't see it do well in the Oscar nominations. Certainly for picture and director, and always great to see Jeff Bridges in the run.
How about Loving?
Loving could be a dark horse.
Yeah,
that was certainly a favorite earlier in the year.
It'll be interesting
to see if it
to see what we see of Loving, in the Oscar race, as well as I think it'll be interesting to see how Hidden Figures does.
Yes.
Not Hidden Fences, Hidden Figures.
Yeah, someone misspoke last night and called it Hidden Fences.
Yes.
Yeah, they said that during the broadcast last night. They called it Hidden Fences.
Silly.
Twice.
But Hidden Figures has done so well at the box office.
Yeah.
It tied Rogue One on its first weekend. And it's such a feel-good picture.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see how it does. Those women are quite strong, and it's a really good feel-good story. Loved it.
It's going to come down to maybe whether Hollywood is feeling really, really depressed and wants to honor something that's really, really depressing, or whether they're going to look for uplift and go with either La La Land or...
There's plenty of intrigue this year, that's
I think
for
that
certain.
to that point, I think it'll be an interesting horse race to the end between La La Land and Moonlight. Because of the dramas, Moonlight captures the moment the most because of its very realistic depiction of race, its very detailed illustration of life in tough neighborhoods of a big city. And those are certainly issues that draw a lot of concern from people. And I think that will be, on one hand, where we want our attention to go versus the pure escape that La La Land brings. So I think I kind of foresee that kind of battle.
It's realism versus escapism. What else is new?
But Moonlight is realism so beautifully realized that there is such hope at the end of that film. Very uplifting film.
So I think we're leaving Manchester by the sea.
I love Manchester, but I think in the moment, I would at this moment say I think Moonlight is going to be the drama to beat.
There's plenty of intrigue, that's for sure. There's really no lock this year. Viola Davis is probably the closest thing as a supporting actress. We don't even know if she will be a supporting actress. She could be an actress.
It's great fun, and so the nominations will come out on January 24th, and then we get to
dissect it
for a few weeks until Oscar night.
Mark, as always, thank you so much for joining us on the couch. We'll be back next week on Arts and Leisure. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great week, everybody.